Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm. Why am I so tiny? Look at me. I'm like 2 apples tall. Yeah. Anyway, my name is Pabs. I'm Pabs. I'm a rising VTuber. Being so tiny threw me off so damn bad. I forgot my own intro. It is dire out here. All right, let's get this thing started. I'm Paps, a rising VTuber and an artist. Today we're gonna be finishing up this comic page here. We did some. Put that back. We did some great work on it last time. We just need to finish it up right here. So let's. Oh, I mean, first I gotta make myself not a ridiculous size. Like, look at this. Come on. I could fit in a thimble. I look like I'm about to grab a needle and use it as a sword. You know, that kind of a really old I think ragwood. I remember there was this one. I don't know what the subgenre is called. I'm gonna call it animal adventure. So it was about this mouse, right? Who was I remember the sequel to the book more than the actual book itself is the problem, because of the fact that I ended up reading the sequel first by accident. That or the sequel was actually one of those deals where it was a sequel, but the sequel came out before the prequel did, so it's just called the sequel, but it's not really the sequel, something like that. In any case, I read a book about this mouse who used, I think, a hedgehog quill as a weapon, and it was pretty dope. I like that idea a lot. There's something fundamentally charming about the idea of a small animal using an object suited for its size. I don't know. Do humans get do a lot of people get a kick out of having objects that are the appropriate size for the subject? I feel like there's something very satisfying about that. I read a post the other day, right? Somebody said oh, the thing that you underestimate about adult life is that you always need bowls. You have no idea how many bowls you're gonna need, and you're gonna want bowls. In every single situation you're gonna run into, you're gonna be God, I wish I had the right size of bowl for this. Which is true. I've experienced that myself. I don't know. The problem with that is that it's also particularly difficult to store certain sizes of bowls. I have one. I got myself this microwavable plastic bowl set. That was one of those ones where it was they were stacked into each other, right? So bowl 1 was kind of huge, and bowl 2 was a little bit smaller, but also still pretty big. Then bowl 3 is medium size, and bowl 1 is tiny. I got myself one of those sets, and it's worked pretty well, frankly. I do think it was a sound investment. However, okay, so here's the thing, right? Do y'all remember a time back in 2022? It had to 2023 rather, mid 2023. They had a drink for sale that was basically coffee mixed with Coca-Cola, or Coca-Cola with coffee flavoring. I went nuts for that stuff. I loved it. I love the taste of coffee. I love the taste of soda. They hit the hammer. They hit the nail on the head right there. In terms of having me as their target demographic. And I found out later that you could basically just make it yourself, right? You just need some cola, just like any old cola and coffee, and you can just mix those together. If it's cold pressed coffee. See, a funny thing happens if you use instant coffee like I did. Which is that if you use instant coffee to make that, you are going to create, for whatever reason, I could not tell you why, I am not Niall Red, you are going to create a foam behemoth in your bowl. I'm talking the bowl was this big, this much was probably like the coffee mixed with the cola, and like this much was probably the foam that resulted from the chemical reaction that seemed to be punishing me for my hubris and lack of care for the craft of coffee. And it just went on like that. And I sucked it up, and I just, quite literally, I did basically try to drink the foam as it was expanding. Because one, it was just like that much foam, and two, because it kind of tasted like it, though not really. I probably would have been better off just like not eating any of it. I think I didn't like shade any of the leather in this one. I don't think I did, no. I better go back and fix that. But yeah, I think the other thing that, but like kind of circling back to my original point, right? The the thing is, I think like as you become older, you also become more enthused when things just work out perfectly. I mean, like that also happens when you're a kid, right? But like, I feel like, for example, when you buy a coffee table on a whim and it happens to fit just so in your room arrangement, right? Coffee tables are like that. Are like the coffee tables might be a bad example because everybody uses coffee tables whenever they talk about like your change in values as an adult, right? Like for some reason, the coffee table is like the go-to most boring object you can own. Like, oh yeah, it's so weird. I'm no longer a party animal. I like coffee tables now. Y'all are fake. I've loved coffee tables since day one. We didn't have a coffee table, I don't think, in my house growing up. So like when we moved houses and we had a coffee table for the first time in the world, I'm like, this is a lap of luxury. I was fucking thrilled. I could finally put my feet up on something while I was watching fucking Phineas and Ferb. It was the best. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, I don't get why people just kind of like depend on coffee table as like the prototypical most boring thing you can own. I guess maybe because it's like practical and inoffensive, right? Most people decide to own a coffee table at some point or another. So maybe that's why. You know, maybe it's not so much a them picking unfairly on the coffee table, but just so much as it is just like, no, everybody gets the coffee table thing at some point. Like it's just the most universally relatable experience. Okay, then add this here and this here. All right, we have the shadows for the helmet on this one. I'm gonna add just a quick one. Is this where Hawk is? Yeah. Gonna add a quick one just here on the helmet strap. Or on the goggle strap, more like. All right. Let's try and use something on this one here. Speaking of changes that happen as like you get older, one of the ones that has happened for me, and I don't know if this one is as universal as maybe the coffee table one. It might be, it might not be. I found that like I get less pleasure in like devouring things. Like when I was a child, when I had the opportunity to like ravenously tear into food or whatever, I would take that opportunity every single chance I got. I remember reading Great Expectations in high school, and I was like, oh, and like one of the passages of the book talks about like bolting, right? Like it talks about like how Pip and his adoptive father, I think, are like eat food way too quickly as a kind of like competition between themselves. You know, as a friendly thing you do to bond with a parental figure. You know, just getting up to some random stuff while your archetypal evil stepmom yells at you in the background. That sort of thing. And when I was reading those, I was like, he's just like me for real. No, I did not. I did not actually say that. I did not think out loud to myself, boy, I'm just like this Victorian child. Actually, was Pip Victorian? Like, I don't. Hang on. Is Great Expectations set during the Victorian era? Book is a Bildungsroman, a coming of age story, Victorian. Okay, Victorian writing. That's something. Yeah, I've talked about great expectations sometimes on the channel before. I It really surprises me how much some books, which I didn't even really enjoy, like the thing is, right? I'm not one. I was one of those kids who like read everything on the reading list. Like you can get by pretty well without reading some of the books academically, right? Like you can more or less just get like a plot summary, and you can like try and wing it that way, I guess. But like I was never one of those people who could do that. I had to read the book. So I did. I read 3 books for my like AP English class. I had to read Great Expectations, which was the hardest one just because of how dense it was. I had to read a play called Antigone, which was I've talked about as well. It's super fascinating if you know the context behind it. A little bit confusing if you don't. At least I was confused. I don't know. I feel like Antigone would be a big hit with Tumblr people. In any case, and the last one was Death of a Salesman, which I think about so fucking much. That book is great. Not even a book, it's a play. That play is crazy. But yeah, out of all of them, I do have like, it surprises me how much all of them kind of stuck with me. Right? I didn't expect them to stick with me that much, particularly since like the only one I really jived with was Death of a Salesman because it had the most like compelling. Well, it was the shortest as well, but it had the most compelling to me narrative out of all 3 of them. I highly recommend Death of a Salesman if you haven't read it. It's a very fascinating look into the idea of like the American dream. That was like, at least that was like one of the themes that we kind of like analyzed within it, is like the idea of the American dream as explored within that book. I feel like Death of a Salesman remake featuring like a dude who lost all his money, a dude who lost his apes in the divorce would actually go pretty hard. Frankly speaking, I don't know how many people would be interested in that, but I would be. Hmm. Another one of those books that I'm glad that I ended up reading, which wasn't in my AP class, but I'm still glad I ended up reading, was Of Mice and Men, which deals with almost kind of similar topics, but in a very different way. I think I was like I think I was too underdeveloped to like really understand the themes behind Mice and Men. I think it's very similar to like the Death of a Salesman's kind of plot in that like it's also about like the American dream to some extent, but I don't think it was nearly as, I don't know, what was Of Mice and Men written, because like I think that was John Steinbeck. No, not John Steinbeck, surely. No, John Steinbeck. Fuck yeah. High five, brain. But yeah, 1937. Okay, so maybe it was a little bit about the American dream. I don't know. I guess a better idea of like Of Mice and Men would actually be like a more compelling read on it would be like throughout the idea of like immigration and like a little bit about the depression, right? I feel like that's the most like obvious read of it. Somebody should probably challenge me on that, but nobody has so far. I don't know. Maybe I need to reread it. Did John Steinbeck also do The Pearl? I'm pretty sure he did The Pearl too. Hang on. The Pearl. Novella. Yeah, he also did The Pearl. Okay, perfect. Interesting then, because if that is the case, then that might actually be like a thing that Steinbeck is like exploring, right? Like the idea of like the exploitation of underprivileged people. I feel like that was to some extent explored in Of Mice and Men as well. Being that the two main characters are like these worker dudes who are basically just trying to chill at a ranch. Keyword being trying to. Fate has other plans in store for those boys. Thing about this gun is throwing me off. Maybe the bottom part of this handle needs to be a little bit higher. At least where we can see it, right? So I should probably make like a little thing here. I should probably also try and add a, what do you call, half toning for some of these things before I forget. Yeah, that'll do. I still need to finish reading frickin' The House of Leaves. I'm like definitely not far enough into that book where I can like feel okay dropping it off. I don't know. I feel like if I have to drop something off, right? Like if I fall off on something, it either has to be like before it's even begun, or like way late into the book. Those are the only two times I'm like comfortable like dropping it, because then I can either like have context if I just want to spoil myself and just like be done with it, or I can just be like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care, and be done with it that way too. That second one has saved me so many times, you have no idea. Sometimes you really do just need to take a moment and step back and be like, you know what? I don't actually care about this thing that I'm reading. It is so vital for your health that you have that, because if sometimes you like push yourself to read something because you feel like an obligation toward it, that is the devil talking. You don't need to read all that. I mean, okay, caveat though. Sometimes you do feel that, but it's like not that like you're supposed to feel that, but like if it's something that you think is important enough to warrant trying to like override your own, how do I put this, like your own aversion to it, then you have to kind of like make that effort, right? Like sometimes sometimes it really is like that one picture's like that's like, this tastes terrible, but I'll eat it for you, Lord. That has to be one of my favorite pictures. I don't even think it's from like my proper denomination, so to speak, but hang on. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah. This one here. I don't know. I think about it a lot. It's just so. It's a lot. I. I don't think it's theologically sound, maybe, but like, it sometimes is exactly like that. You understand that sometimes you need to just like experience a little bit of enduring to better yourself, and that's normal. That's not only normal, that should be expected. It's not easy to improve yourself. So broadly speaking, if you do improve yourself, you're probably like, if you're struggling, right? That means you're either trying to change. No, if you're struggling, that means you're trying to change in some way or some form. And that's never easy, right? I remember reading like this one idea that's like that of like this mindset, right? That like I okay, so I want to be able to do this thing, right? That's like the beginning thought is I want to be able to do this thing. And the follow up to that is that I can't do this thing as I am, or I can't do this thing right now. And like the third thought is if I do these things, I will be able to do the thing that I want to do. And then there's like the caveat of it. I don't know if I'm using the word caveat correctly. I probably am. Then there's like the rub, which is the things I need to do to get to where I want to be are going to hurt terribly. And then there's part 4, which really wraps the ribbon on this, which is like, since those things will let me achieve my dreams, I should embrace this pain. And it is such an over the top, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just such a ridiculous idea, but the thing is, it really is exactly like that sometimes. It's baffling how accurate that can be to some situations. I should save my work. As for myself, it's not like I hesitate to say I like pain for many reasons. I don't know. I think a little bit of effort every once in a while is good for you. I feel like trying to challenge yourself every once in a while, just doing something ridiculous or something you can tell a story about, is a good idea. Not just because it like gives you that experience, right? That experience to talk about and like relate to, but also because it just makes you remember. Keep you humble is a wrong isn't the right way to phrase it, but it helps you to remember yourself, right? If you do better than expected, it's like a moment of like, huh, that didn't go so badly. Maybe I have a knack for this. But if it didn't go quite so well, that's also an opportunity to say, I wonder why that happened, right? Like I wonder why what I could do better next time. Or even like I never want to do that again. That's also a very valuable thing to take away from an experience, just knowing if you never want it to happen again. Not everything can be a good experience, but sometimes it is valuable to have an experience that goes poorly, just so you can be like, you know what? No, this is not it. I'm not into this. This is not for me. I reckon that's kind of what happens if you buy a maid outfit. You either go like everything makes sense now, or you go, I should really return this somehow. God, I know it's not a good thing to be too nosy, but I do kind of want to see what the return rate is for like certain cosplay outfits. I just think it would be funny to see like literally 0% of maid dresses have ever been returned and draw our own conclusions from there. Again, really bad to be a nosy Nancy, but I kind of want to know. I'm kind of curious. All right, let's lower the size on this a little bit like that. Yep. No, that's not quite right. Ain't like this. No, something about that doesn't seem right. Okay, then over here. Nice. Okay, then over here. That's pretty much everything, right? I think like only the gun is left. Maybe the cassette tape. I don't think we even need the cassette tape, to be honest. Oh yeah, bad news. I found out that the library nearby doesn't actually have a VHS player. I'm not sure where I can find one now. I might have to go to Kijiji, which is kind of like my last resort option. Primarily because I have literally no other use for a VCR unless I get really into like tape making. I don't know, that could be fun. That could be kind of fun, actually. I know there's that one dude on Twitter who makes like VHS tapes of like different VTubers debut. That guy kicks ass. I don't know. Maybe I should strive to be like him. Oh, you can never have too many hobbies, right? Well, I don't know. Maybe who is one dude that you know? I feel like we all know one person who has maybe too many, not hobbies per se, but maybe like ambitions. That's a weird way to phrase it. Okay, so like in high school, right? I knew this one girl in our university. Not in university, in our school. She like really wanted to go like to like one of those super fancy schools, right? Like Harvard, Princeton, one of those places. I don't know. I hear they're overhyped, but more power to her if she can get in. That should look pretty good on the old job application. Lord knows you need every advantage you can get these days. But yeah, I knew this one girl who was basically like involved in like 58 extracurriculars and whatnot in her lifetime, and she was a decent person. She and I got along okay. That being said, sometimes like you would see the mask slip a little bit, and you could tell that she was way stressed. Like there would be moments where she would be like looking away at the crowd from the crowd, and like you could see the light leave her eyes a little bit. So I think yeah, you can. There is a possibility of being too involved in too much stuff, though maybe not necessarily having too many hobbies. Hmm. The division between like quote unquote introverts and quote unquote extroverts. Hmm. I don't know. I feel like that might be too simplistic of a difference because I feel like she was definitely more of an introvert, right? But at the same time, she needed to be like talking to people and like interacting with folks to make her ambitions a reality. That's a very noble thing, I think. Like being able to like work hard to achieve your dreams is never something that I'm going to look down on. But it's kind of fascinating, right? Everybody's. I remember seeing a few people say that the world is kind of built for morning people. And while I can see the truth in that, it's also true that it's kind of like built for extroverts. But at the same time, even if you're an extrovert, that doesn't necessarily mean you're playing by the right rules. You're not doing necessarily the right thing. So I feel like it's more like the world is built for people who can like learn to see opportunities and like have the energy to act on those opportunities. Because Lord knows I don't have the energy to act on those sometimes. Like there will be an opportunity, but I'll be like, I'm a little bit exhausted from literally having to do everything else. It's not a great attitude to have, but what can you do? Sometimes you're tired. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna select the outline here, and I'm gonna expand it by like 10 pixels, or maybe like 20. Hang on, something strange about this, right? Like, I can't be the only one who thinks that that looks a little strange. Something isn't right with this like selection tool. Whatever. I'll figure it out, or I won't. My plan, at least, was to grab one of these other brushes and just use this thingy tool to erase over where she would be. I don't know. Is that sufficient? I feel like it isn't. Let's expand the domain a little bit more. Oh yeah, you can actually see some of it is still on the inside there. Something about these like little like white bits feels a little weak sauce. I need to make them bigger, I think. Let's see. I'll do some more stretches real quick. Ugh. Yeah, things have gotten kind of busy at my workplace, so I might even have to like go back to work after I've wrapped up here. So I don't know. Maybe I might take things nice and slow for today. These need to go down by like a lot. Is this like actually helping? Oh wait, hang on. Scale down width. Oh yeah, that's much better. I love efficiency. God. Today I found out that there was like this one bit, right? Some folks in V's server introduced me to this like found footage thing called like the Price Master, which it's kind of funny in like a way I don't think I would have appreciated. There's like two types of funny to me, right? Funny that I would have appreciated before I became like a teenager, and funny I would have appreciated like only after. And I could break that down a little bit more to elaborate. I was very like easily frightened as a child of many things. So I feel like the Price Master would have definitely given me the heebie-jeebies as a child. But yeah, if you've never seen the Price Master, much like I have never seen the Price Master up until like, I don't know, today. It's basically like this found footage looking thing of some dude running a garage sale and wearing like a weird kind of like almost like clown regalia kind of thing. And whenever somebody wanted to like know the price of an item up for sale at the garage sale, he would be like, they'd be like, "Hey, how much for like this ladle here?" And he would like go into like use like one of those like super deep voice modulation mics, and he would be like $5,600 with like a really deep demonic almost kind of auto tune. Could you call that auto tune? Actually, I don't know. But yeah, the idea is that he would just basically like bellow however much the item in question went for, and it was always some kind of absurd out of the reach price. Like for like I think like some kind of like can opener or something. He charged like $17,000 or something, and nobody took him seriously, of course. But like, God, the knowledge that my affiliate send off would have been so much tonally different if I had seen that video earlier is kind of driving me nuts. Hang on, I kind of want to try something. Gonna grab this, lower the opacity again, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add it here and filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I want to have it like have a whitish outline. That's pretty good. I don't know. It might. Does it look like she's just become like a force ghost or something? Good enough. I don't think I've forgotten anything here. The bombs. Yeah, no, we should be all set. I'm still so proud of how this part of the page specifically came out. I'm really a fan of it. This is all okay. It's all in one page again, foolishly, but that's fine. I can adapt. First, I want to add Horatio's shirt pattern, and also Hawk's halftone for her jetpack and whatnot. Mainly because those are the two things that I always forget, and I would like to not do that for this page. All right, let's see here. I keep remembering how I misplaced a cane misplaced a ratio's cane so many times. This is why all the characters in my OC universe use martial arts instead of like swords or some shit. It's just because I cannot for the life of me remember to like drop props consistently. Like they have no continuity in my works. That's why I think that as like whack as like the modern MCU Iron Man helmets are, I still think that I understand. You know, I get it. I'm not gonna say like it's good, but I'm saying I get it. Because the thing is, right? Because Marvel only ever uses fucking VFX instead of like practical effects most of the time. I can imagine that like the reason that they have to what do you call that they take off uh Iron Man's mask so often is mainly because they don't want to spend the cash needing to like keep it in place for so long, right? Because I imagine that like if it is like all VFX for some of the costumes, right? So like with the Iron Man costume, for example, they wouldn't want to have it on screen any longer than it needed to be. Man, being like able to experience the rise and decline of like the MCU. Well, decline is a strong word. I'm pretty sure it's still going quite strong. I don't know. I feel like it's been a minute since I've heard people talk about it for real. You know, I feel like most people have moved on. They're probably still pushing some random garbage in Disney Plus that I have never heard of or will ever see. More power to them, I guess. In any case, Uh, yeah, it's been kind of crazy because I remember like being what, like 12 and watching Thor with my brother on like a not even 12, honestly, like probably like 8 or something, and watching Thor with my brother, like the very very first Thor. I watched the Incredible Hulk in theaters and I thought it was decent. I could not for the life of me tell you like the basic plot structure of the Incredible Hulk parentheses 2003, I don't know, whenever the Incredible Hulk was released. I do remember one scene from it though, which is where like I think like Bruce was trying to like learn either Pilates or like some kind of like controlled breathing to like calm his own senses, and the dude who was showing off the breathing technique was doing this insane thing with his stomach, right? Like he was showing off like a very high degree of control over his diaphragm to show off this breathing technique. And it was very clear as well because like you would see the guy be like super skinny, basically. He would look like Doll Sim for like one frame, right? Let me make like actually hang on. He needs to have like his lips first because he's breathing in and out really hard. Hey, Adept. I'm talking about like the one scene I remember from the Incredible Hulk, which is where this one guy is like doing like really intensive breathing exercises, and his belly is just like going in and out like this, like whoop, 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 and he was like breathing like super hard, like it was kind of funny. At least I'm pretty sure that was from the Incredible Hulk. Power to surpass the Hulk. Yeah. Hang on. Can I find it? Hang on. Is it possible to find this? Hang on. Incredible Hulk breathing scene. Oh my god, it has a result. Yo, hold up. I need to like hang on, I need to pop out a tab for this. Oh my god, this is beautiful. Alright. Let me see if I can. Where's my browser source? I have one here. I know it's in here. Oh, here it is. You see it? Alright. Hang on. Let me open it up first and then there we go. Alright. I'm not gonna turn up the. Oh, is this supposed to be like some kind of like martial arts? Okay, okay, here we go. Look at him go. Look at his stomach go. No, I don't care. Oh, was I thinking about the? Oh God, yeah, there we go. That's the one. Holy shit. God. That's kind of awesome. Hey! Whoa, all right. I really feel like that's unnecessary, brother. He's like, I believe in you. I believe that you will not get angry. And like the other guy has to be like under like sweating cold bullets, like gonna be like, that's really, really not like it's so much worse than you could imagine. God, I'm so glad that I'm not the only one who like only remembered that scene. That's crazy. I'm so grateful. Thank you, random internet person, for finding that scene for me, so I wouldn't have to like find a way to watch The Incredible Hulk. Man, it would have been life changing if the phrase "mid" had been introduced to like my lexicon, my understanding, my comprehension as a child. Because I feel like in that regard, I could have been like a lot like I was very hesitant to call a lot of things bad, but I feel like if I had the word "mid," I would have been able to deploy it much more effectively. Having that just immediately be a result is pretty great, actually. The information age definitely has its downsides, but this is pretty great. Now all of your web browsing history will know that you've seen The Incredible Hulk. I cannot wait to see how this impacts my algorithm. God, that's even like a different actor for the Hulk, isn't it? Like that's supposed to be like Mark Ruffalo or something. Like I think the ordinary guy's like Mark Ruffalo or Ruffalo. I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name. That was just some random dude, I think. Or if he isn't random, I don't know the name of the actor. But yeah, I remember watching The Incredible Hulk in theaters. I remember watching Iron Man 3 in theaters. God, that was genuinely such a hype movie. I remember going to see it with like some of my friends from high school. I think I forgot to do the shadows on our ratio scan in the second panel. Hold up. Is this the one? Is this the one? Hold up. Here's a ratio shadows. Okay, our ratio is Mr. not appearing in this page, so we need to find another page from the comic to draw those references from. I really should get into the habit of like having palettes somewhere while I work, or maybe just having these in my reference. I think like now there's a way to like make references somewhere in here. Just like have those on hand. If there is, I don't know how to do it. Would be a fantastic thing to learn to improve my workflow. There's so many times that it's like that, right? Like you think to yourself, this would be really good for my workflow, but then it's just such a hassle to set it up that you're just like, you know what, it would probably like save me less time to like suck it up and do it than to actually like do it. Like and the problem is that that's almost never the case. Usually when you do like make preparations that way, it does pay off. Although I do know some cases where it hasn't. Yeah, exactly. Once you actually get to it, it's so good, and you're like, and you think to yourself, why didn't I do this sooner? And the answer is that because you were a lazy bum. God. Although I do think there are cases where you can kind of overdo it, right? For example, I read a long time ago about like the Dvorak keyboards, right? Now, if you've never heard of Dvorak keyboards, it's essentially a configuration for where the letters are on your keyboard that's supposed to be much more efficient to type with. Because I think there was a myth or something, right? Or there was this idea that the way that keys were spaced on typewriters, the QWERTY layout, is somewhat influenced by the fact that you couldn't type above a certain speed on a typewriter or else it would break. So people, or rather the keys would get too worn out or something. So what they did to counteract this problem in a sort of solution, because keyboards hadn't really been invented by that point, was to say, okay, we're going to space these keys like this far apart, and that way when people type, they're not going to be hitting them as hard as they could be when they're typing with an ordinary layout. So the idea behind the Dvorak is just to have an extremely efficient layout of the keys based on like the most used letters in the alphabet. One of my friends uses some alternate layouts. For them, it's more of like a hand comfort thing, I think, rather than typing speed. I could see that being the case. I could definitely appreciate that. But yeah, most people who use the Dvorak use it specifically because it's supposed to be like the most fast, most efficient. It's practically like it's the typing equivalent to trying to learn a top tier in a fighting game. You know, at that point, you're not really doing it for fun. You're trying to do it because you want to win. I've got to get references outside of fighting games. I think it's starting to really hurt my ability to relate to other people. One of these days, I'm going to like whip out like, yeah. I think what we just need to do is just really try to gap, you know, at my workplace, and people are going to ask me, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I'll be explaining why we need to like delay our request to the client and be like, "All right, have you ever heard of something called a frame trap?" God. In any case, um, yeah, I did. I actually thought about trying to learn how to type with the Dvorak a long time ago. I think probably 2 years back now. I didn't make a concerted effort because I actually wanted to see if there was any truth behind the idea of it being faster necessarily than other typing speeds. And you don't actually gain like that much, particularly given how much the time you would need to adjust to learning how to the new layout and not having and like getting essentially, you know, I had like what would it be now? 15 years of experience using a keyboard. The first 10 or so not necessarily being like super intensive because I was a wee babby. Yeah, the initial time investment for learning a new layout can be rough. Yeah. So I think if it's not for like for a comfort thing, it's definitely fine to just stick with QWERTY if that's what you know. From what I understood, the time gain isn't that dramatic even once you do master it. Because they were talking to some dude who had been using it for like years and years, and even he said that yeah, no, it's maybe like 3% faster than normal typing speed. It reminds me a little bit of like discussions around speed running, right? Because like you're thinking to yourself, okay, rather than sometimes instead of like going the fastest possible method, you choose the safest possible method that is still fast. I remember watching this summoning salt video for Ninja Gaiden, I think, where some of the speedrunners ended up going for a trick that was easier to pull off, although not as fast, simply because they could not consistently pull off the really fast one. Yeah. Heck, even when it's not 100% muscle memory, getting used to a new layout can be really rough. I recently switched over to a dual shock pad instead of like the old Xbox layout controller that I used to have. Especially in marathons, you get a lot more safe strats and less reliable stuff that might be faster. 100%, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think in marathons, the more important thing, I think because marathons are something only maniacs try to do, it's fine to try and use a safer route because then you end up. So few people are going to try doing something risky for that long that you end up being able to like rely on the safe stuff. Sup, Pabs? How's the comic going? Hey, Ryan, going pretty well. I'm on the last panel of this page. We're talking about experiences of like trying to get used to new physical layouts. So we're talking about like the Vorak and stuff like that. I've recently switched over to a what do you call a dual sense controller because I want to try and use a D-pad more often when I play fighting games. And the transition could be going a little smoother, I'm not gonna lie. It's not it's fucking rough out here. I'm not. The thing is, it's also not a cabled connection, and I think the controller has been running a little low on battery. So half the time, I can't even tell if the reason that I'm missing inputs is because the controller's gone haywire or because I simply need to get good. The charging cable for it should arrive pretty soon. It's crazy that they can sell you like dual shock controllers without the charging cable. Why do they do that? adding a cable can add a little bit more cost to it, sure, but even then, if you're selling it to somebody who does own a console, they can only charge one controller at a time. In this case, that's these stupid freaking cost cutting measures. All right, let's add some shadows to these hands. Oh yeah, a little while ago, I was talking about things that like change when you become an adult, right? Like I mentioned that when I was a kid, I used to love wolfing down food as quickly as I could. I don't know. I felt some kind of primal delight from absolutely demolishing a plate of spaghetti as quickly as possible. Like my mom would like serve my plate, and she would leave, turn around for like 5 minutes, and then I would have finished it, like an entire plate of food, and she'd be like, "How do you eat it that fast?" It got to the point where I think like one time somebody actually told me that I needed to slow down for my own health. God. Yeah, I don't do that so often anymore. I don't find the same kind of like, I guess predator drive would be the would be no wait, prey drive is the one where predators hunt prey, right? Yeah, I don't feel the same kind of prey drive as I used to when eating. Simply food maxing, that's right. I don't know. I was one of those people who thought that like if they entered a hot dog eating contest, they could probably win it at some point, even though that's absolutely not the case. God, do you think that there are like those kinds of posters, kind of like how there's posters in like the fighting game community that are like, yeah, my yeah, my happy chaos is pretty schnasty. You know, there's like dudes in like the speed eating community that are like, ah, yeah, I could definitely demolish all that, and they're like lying. I don't know. I feel like it's a lot harder to. I don't know. It's a lot harder to kind of have that one-to-one translation between cultures in this regard because I feel like because you're allowed to pick your character, you can't just pick a character that's overpowered and that's the end of that. But it's kind of harder to pick your kind of gastric system and its limitations. I will say, I think it's also the case that I find that like eating food too quickly now feels a little bit undignified for myself. Whereas earlier I didn't mind it just because it's just kind of snazzy though. IBS havers be like. God. But yeah, it feels undignified in like it's trying to eat food quickly feels undignified in the sense that so the other day I went thrift shopping with my friend and it was fun, but we did get caught up in the like we it had just rained and it was very windy when we were trying to go back home. So we ended up parking our butts in a Tim Hortons for until the bus came, and you know we were just very leisurely chatting until my buddy points out, "Hey, we have like a minute until the bus gets here." And I had a pretty hot still coffee on my on like my side of the table. So I was trying to like speed chug that, and throughout the whole time I was like, "This is so embarrassing. I'm gonna get a bad grade in coffee drinking." I don't know. It just felt demeaning. I guess that's better than that's like a better description than undignified. It just felt very demeaning that I had to like guzzle my coffee just to catch the bus on time. I don't know. Part of it might also have been just because like it made me realize my own limitations. I feel like being sensitive to hot foods is like one of those things where like nobody will make fun of you for it, but you definitely feel a little bit emasculated whenever you realize that it's catching up to you. Like I remember I was like blowing on my coffee trying to cool it down and I'm like, God, this would be so much easier if I could just like fucking man up and burn my tongue. If I wasn't such a pussy about first degree burns, this would be over so much faster. This could be so much more efficient. I don't know. I've always been that way a little bit. The inside of my mouth is very sensitive to heat. Although weirdly enough, I very rarely get burned. The most efficient burns. Yeah. God. That reminds me of this one dude on Twitter who was like, I feel like I'm the type of person who hits harder when they're low on health. I don't think that fits me necessarily, but I've met people who are like that, if that makes sense. We all got that one homie who definitely has like a 25% crit chance when they're at less than 10 HP. I don't know. Some people try to like fit themselves into a class, a kind of like traditional RPG class in their friend group. Or at least I've seen some people try to do that as a bit. Got that low hit point build. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think I'd really fit into any of the traditional RPG archetypes. I mean, I like martial arts, but that doesn't make me like a monk or anything, right? I don't know. I feel like I don't demonstrate enough discipline to be a monk. I have some kind of difficulty understanding the concept of moderation. I don't know. If you had those all streamers are bards, Pab, sorry, it's the rules. No, that sucks. That's so that's so whack. This is heartbreaking. I'm a bard? That's that. Oh god, what am I gonna tell my parents? They're they're gonna disinherit my ass for sure. I am not gonna be able to inherit my bloodline. God, that's definitely gonna bring down my credit score. RPGs do need more fist fighting classes outside of monks, it's true. That is right. Yeah. That's kind of a big reason I like the. There's this webcomic called Kill 6 Billion Demons, which I highly recommend you like if you like heavy metal and martial arts. It's a really good webcomic. And what I really like about that style is that it demonstrates that not all martial art, like there are 100% styles that are made for people who are not there's so many martial artists in the setting that there are 100% styles that are not made for people who have like patience or virtue in mind. Any strength-based class can fist fight if they weren't wusses. That's true. Like, for example, in the setting of Kill 6 Billion Demons, there is a martial art called Demon Flips the Ox Cart, where basically you basically try to find a master of the style, get and train with them for a little bit, eat some dank herbs, and like meditate for a couple days, and your body essentially becomes a furnace that you need to feed triple the food of an ordinary person, and you just become crazy strong now. Like that definitely sounds like the kind of martial art, like the kind of dude who joins the military because he doesn't have any plans after university that it takes up, right? Like I feel like we need more representation for in like fictional martial arts for people who just like do not have the patience for that shit. We need like the martial arts equivalent of like payday loans in fictional settings. We need like the martial arts equivalent of like working at a GameStop for. I'm running out of examples to use, but you get what I mean. God, Kill 6 Billion Demons is so cool. Okay, then over here we're gonna add the little chevron reflection. I've recently been rereading another webcomic. This one called Star Impact. I cannot recommend Star Impact enough. It has some of the most the artist behind it has some of the most creative character designs I have ever seen in my life. Like the artist will debut a new design for a new character, and I like hoot and holler in my chair. I go insane. Like if Kill 6 Billion Demons has a lot of interesting designs because of how intricate they can be, and despite their kind of like iconic components, Star Impact goes like the full One Piece route of just making everybody look kind of weird and doughy and kind of strange, and use really unique shapes for all their characters to create a very strong silhouette. The martial arts equivalent of a GameStop job would just be the jobbers the protagonist fights. God. Yeah, you're trying to like you're trying to like carry out a raid on like some rival sect's headquarters, and like the guy posted at the entrance is like, huh, so you made it past the other guys, huh? So you think you can take me on? Me? The understudy to the cousin of the fourth brother of the third strongest person in this clan? And you have to be like, bro, do you even like work here? Like, are you actually do we need to fight? I feel like GameStop employees or ex GameStop employees should have access to like berserker forms. This is the yielding tail between legs. God. Fist of the exposed belly. Fist of the stunt man. I don't know. Hang on. How fancy can we make the word monster of the week? Hang on. Weekly synonyms. Okay. So I hate. Okay. So here's something that I. All right. I'm gonna need y'all to like take a look at something. I clicked on the first web result for adjectives for weekly. Recurring. That's a good one. The fist of the recurring fiend, or something like that. All right, check this out. So this is a page discussing the different synonyms for weekly, and it's using the adjective as in periodic. Why would you like take it that way? Because you've got here annual, intermittent, monthly. Those are not weeks, brother. Those are 100% not weeks. Hang on. Once every week. Quarterly? That's not correct. Oh, I guess that's as a newspaper. Come on. Weekly as in what? What bullshit is this? What do you mean weekly as in monthly? What the fuck do you mean by that? Weekly? What the fuck planet do you live on? Pluto? Pluto's not a planet. That's not the right one. But tabletop gaming schedules. God. Get this fraud out of my sight. It's really just kind of disheartening. How do we not have more words for the idea of like a weekly occurrence? How is that possible? We have 52 of them every year. You tell me nobody's ever thought of anything better than week? We have a cool word for 2 weeks. We have fortnight. Why do we not have anything for like a normal week? This is bullshit. I don't know. Maybe it's up to me to make a new word for weekly. One that isn't so weak sauce. We'll innovate and make a new one. Yeah, that's gonna be how it's gonna have to be, isn't it? I don't know. What's like a good one? Septernal? That's like nocturnal plus 7. Septernal. I'll like to workshop it a little bit. That's another thing. I remember listening to this one podcast where the host kept describing it as a bi-weekly podcast, by which they mean they did it every 2 weeks, I think. And I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to use bi for things. What's the opposite of nocturnal? Diurnal. I think. I'm pretty sure diurnal is the opposite of nocturnal. Yeah, occurring at daytime rather than night. That's diurnal. Yeah, I feel like you should only use. Yeah, is it twice a week? Is it every 2 weeks? I feel like semi-weekly makes more sense for once every 2 weeks. So septernal can work for both day and night. That's true. But yeah, I feel like you should only be allowed to use semi-weekly if you mean like once every 2 weeks. Because semi to me means half, right? Like if you like, so semi-perfect self, for example, right? That guy is almost perfect. Not perfect, but kind of almost perfect, kind of perfect, half perfect. So I feel like semi-weekly makes more sense if you take it to mean once every 2 weeks than bi-weekly. I don't know. I don't think normal people get this heated about words. I'm just saying, it's kind of ridiculous that we have to deal with this. I don't know. Let me give it another crack. Maybe there's a definition there. Other words for weekly. Maybe this time it won't be a huge disappointment. Wait, hang on. We have just hang on. Time to contact Merriam and Webster. Mm-hmm. Hold on. I need y'all to like check out this word that I just saw. Hebdomadally. Hebdomadally. Happening. How do you pronounce that? Hang on. Let me bump up the desktop audio for this sucker. Let me like pause the BGM too.
Hebdomadally.
Hebdomadally. Hang on, let me bump that up.
Hebdomadally. Hebdomadally.
Fascinating. Is that a real word? Hang on. I need to like pop up Wiktionary or some shit. Hebdomadally sounds even lamer. I disagree. I think that's a pretty. I think hebdomadally is kind of like it's the exact kind of thing I was looking for. Yeah. Okay, so hebdomadally literally means from hebdomadalis, Coined by John Selden in 1612. Hebdomadalus itself coming from hebdomas, which is weak. Or hebdomadilly-dallion here. God. That kicks so much ass. Language is pretty cool if it isn't trying to strangle you and you aren't trying to strangle it. Right. Then the helmet. I feel like it'd be better to just add a second light thingy right over here. Am I forgetting anything else on Hawk? I think the goggles need the shadow as well, yeah. Maybe I can add just a little bit of the light reflecting off of the edge here. No, that looks weird. Alright, not on that part. Right, Horatio's hat. Dilly-dallying here is still kind of sending me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna think about that one for a minute. Nice one, Ryan. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I like to browse Wiktionary sometimes. I like thinking about like some words. I like thinking hard about the words that I want to use sometimes, right? So I end up visiting Wiktionary a little bit more than most people. And it's super fascinating what you can discover on there sometimes. Like, for example, a bunch of fucking translations for wizard or sorcerer also mean juggler for some reason. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, jugglers were seen as like wizards or conflated with therewith. Yeah, we're pondering these orbs, all right. Check this shit out, and like they start like juggling like 5 or 6 balls at once, and you're like, whoa, holy shit, that's like 5 or 6 balls at once. Jugglers are wizards. My point exactly. If I was some dumb fuck peasant from the 12th century and some dude started doing like fushigi shit on my lawn, I would be afraid of that guy. I would know that is not a guy to be trifled with. Did we need to shade anything else for a ratio? I think we're pretty much done with them too, right? Yeah, I think so. Oh wait, hang on. I forgot the little scrap of cloth on his horn. Alright, I think we could pretty much just use this like super dark. No, that's too dark is a problem. I'm gonna need to find some kind of sweet point in the middle where I can simplify the shadows compared to the panel here, but also retain some of the more complex ones. Just so it's a little bit strange, right? Like I don't want it to look like the budget of the comic suddenly got slashed in half. And that tends to happen a little bit when you have like one really impressive panel and then you follow it up with like a very simple one. You need to kind of like have a lower decline on the consistency of quality, just so people don't notice too quickly. God, it's crazy how much of my natural instinct to grift people I can just exercise through comics. I'm not gonna lie. I think I might. I think I can. I really benefited from having this as an outlet. Let's see, put this over here. One big grift, yeah. Doesn't look quite right. Hang on. I need to try it. Maybe I just need to try self shading it. Maybe that might be a little better. Yeah, hang on. That's already way better. The illustrated image. The biggest grift of all since, I don't know, since when people could draw, I suppose. How old are those like wall paintings, hand paintings that we found on the walls one time in that cave? However old that is, that's how old the grift of drawing is. Okay, having it like that. That kind of works. Hang on, maybe I can. There's some kind of happy medium I can make here. I try foreground to transparent gradient. And then maybe I can use straight up dark color for some of the lines here. Yeah, okay, this works. I need to bump down the tolerance though. Okay, and have this here. Marvelous. Having like an in-between dark green color like this is really helpful. Sometimes I wonder if like it's just not clicking for me anymore, but then I try just using a slightly gentler shadow and I realize, oh okay, no. So I just like overdid it with like some of the shadows here. It's a relief, you know? Then maybe right here we can have just like this thing here. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, then use a foreground color, this one here. Use the maybe not the gradient. What about the paintbrush? That might work. Okay. I think I just need to shade the ratios K now, then we should be good. How did I do this effect with the ones on this panel? Oh, I see, okay. Hang on, I know how to handle this. Select color gamut, this one here. This one, and then it's just multiply, right? God, that was bothering me. I'm gonna need to remember that trick. Maybe I might even need to go back and apply it to some of the other pages. But damn, that's useful. Okay, there we go. I also need to do something for the world outside just to have it be. I don't know, couldn't I just like use the same stuff going on over here, but just like pan it a little bit to the right? I feel like that should be possible. Or I guess pan it a little bit to the left, rather. I don't know. I feel like that should be feasible. Let me try to do that. Select this one. Cut and paste. All right, which one of you rascals is the big zappy one? Grab this. Plonk it down over here. Oh, that's weird. Why is that not working? There we go. I can't help but notice it doesn't have any line art. And also, like, this part's just a little bit, Alright, you know what? I can deal with this. Hang on. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy and paste these. And I'm gonna do the following. I am going to I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do. Just give me a minute. I guess the simplest thing to do would just be to go back a couple steps and put in the what do you call the line art for this. Which part is that on? This one? Okay. Hang on. I think now it'll work. Yeah! Alright. I could also just like make it this part here, and that way I could draw less. I would have to really thin out the line art though. Look at how thick those lines are. My God. That's not really doing much, is it? Oh, it's because I'm using the ordinary narrow one. Hang on. There we go. They are almost completely gone now. Let me walk that back just a little bit. Oh my gosh. It's fine. I'm planning to hit it with the Gaussian blur tool so it looks like it's off in the distance once this is all over anyway. A little scuff is okay. Okay, then put this one over here. Hopefully that's not super noticeable once I hit it with a Gaussian blur. All right. March those layers and I mean it's decent. I think maybe what I could do is maybe change the tone of it a little bit. I don't know, something about it is bugging me. I think the action lines here are interrupting it somehow. Let's try this. Take these. Bump them up a few thickness levels. Definitely a little bit better. Although... Oh, that's why. Hang on. All right, hang on. The wrong layer. Oh shoot, hang on. I'm gonna have to do this over again a little bit. You know, for some reason, for whatever reason, right now, I'm remembering that one. There's like this one cat comic, like it's got like silly cats in it, and the guy is like walking up to a chef at a restaurant at the counter and is like, and like the chef is like, "You want some fries?" And the cat is like, "Where I'm from, we call them potato Jeremys." And the chef has to be like, "Where the fuck are you from?" Hmm. All right, am I the only one finding it weird that these like lines are persisting somewhere? Honestly, nothing like disabuses you of the note. Like I feel like it's good every once in a while to get into like a fight with somebody about like a pointless fucking thing. I don't know, like with me and Raf, sometimes we get into a fight about like whether they're called patacones, tostones. They're called patacones, by the way. That's I think I think maybe where Raf is from is the only place that calls them tostones. I don't know where else they call them that. But yeah, we have that kind of thing going on, and it's good for us. It's like a good kind of like, how do I put this? Like, it's healthy for us in the sense that if we need like something to like fight about, we can fight about that. It's good to have like something where you can like give like give and take, give it and dish it out at the same time in a safe environment. I don't know. It creates like a certain sort of bond. Not good to pull it out too often, of course. It like fighting, even if it's supposed to be like, oh, haha, we're just joking around. Fighting too much is often very difficult for someone to like chill with. Like I remember for a long time, me and my one of my friends in high school, we tried to do that thing where like you were mean to each other as a bit, and like while we were initially kind of like, yeah, this is we sound so funny, we sound so cool, like we didn't. It's not a good idea to act like that, but like we thought we did, and eventually I was like, listen, man, listen, can we like stop doing this? It's kind of like actually wearing me down. And from then on, we decided to just like not do it, and and that worked out great. I don't know. As much as I say that like it's healthy to have like something like that you can like pointlessly fight about, I think it's even healthier to just relax. There's no need for fighting. I have no enemies. God, I still need to read Vinland Saga. I just know that one line where like either the main character or like a character from the series is like, I have no enemies, and it's supposed to be, and rather than it being like some kind of like badass, oh, I've murdered everybody who I could consider an enemy sort of thing. It's like, we don't need to fight, dog. We don't need to hurt each other here. I don't know. I find it much more reassuring to have somebody say, "Yeah, we don't need to fight." Like I don't know. A lot of people, I think there's been like this idea, right, that like more soft-hearted protagonists are taking over in like anime and manga, right? Like, people are pointing out like, oh yeah, the kid from Demon Slayer, the kid from My Hero Academia, those guys are both like total softies. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though. Like obviously, if that's like the only series that you read, it's going to get old pretty quickly, right? But at the same time, I think it's good to have like to just show that you don't need to be like this tortured person. You can just be happy, and things will still work out for you. You don't need to be locked in 24/7 into like serious like stop fucking around mode. You can like take the time to love fun and be happy and smile, and that's not and still save the world, so to speak. I don't know. I think I could have appreciated that much more than like the idea that like you must never smile. I don't know. I just personally appreciate the shift myself. Perhaps that's my own bias. I know a bunch of people were completely hyped about that freaking Kagurabachi series because because the main character is basically like a hard ass. I I don't know. I find it kind of romantic what happened to Kagurabachi is like as a whole, because like this one series that would have been axed like 3 or 4 weeks into its running gained like this insane degree of like meme popularity out of practically nowhere, to the point where like I remember seeing some posts where like Reddit folks on the Kagurabachi Reddit were ecstatic to see that like Fujoshis were drawing yaoi fan art of the series because they were like, yes, that means it's got legs. God, they're right though. If like if your work, the most damning thing about a work is if it completely does not attract any kind of like any kind of gay fan base. Like if your work is just like completely devoid of like people being like Yuri or people being like Yahweh, I feel like you need to like reassess the depth with which you write your characters. Because the thing is, right? It I'm not necessarily saying like it needs like shipping bait, right? Like that's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that your characters need to have like sufficiently meaningful interactions that maniacs who want shipping bait can see that. Like creating compelling relationships between your characters is a cornerstone of good writing. So having those opportunities, having those people be like Yuri, Yahweh at the top of their lungs, that's good. That means that you've like written compelling or otherwise interesting characters that people want to see in additional situations. Of course, that can get away from you as well, but it's as good a litmus test as any other, I think. I don't know. What's like the weirdest personal litmus test that you have? Like what is like your number one? I'm gonna say like green flag for a series. Like what is like the number one thing that you go like if this series has it, it's got legs. For me, I wouldn't necessarily call. Well, for me, obviously, there's like the Yuri Yaoi thing, but like I think like not necessarily like comedy, but if it makes me excited to like no wait excited to read is too broad of an idea. It's kind of hard to say. Rather than green flags, I think there are things that just appeal to me personally that I look for, right? So like obviously I love martial arts a lot. So I look for a series that have a lot of that. But again, that's more of a personal bias than a green flag. Well, I'm sure everybody's got. I guess everybody's got their own sort of vibe check, right? To some extent. All right, that should be the background more or less done. I had to touch it up a little bit, but if I merge these and then I apply the Gaussian blur, I feel like that should give us enough to go off of. Maybe I can like up the contrast or something. Okay. How's that look overall? I forgot the action lines on the last panel. This will take just about a second. I kind of want to make it do a flip. God, please tell me I can just like add a outline to this and it'll look okay. Not really. Let me try brightening the luminosity a little bit. And thickening up the lines a little bit. Okay, then over here. Okay. I kind of like how the lines here, because of the thickening, they got like this kind of like interesting little streak. I like that a lot. Unfortunately, I don't know how I'm going to be able to make it on purpose. Okay, then over here. That doesn't seem right. The finger tool might be able to help you get that. Oh, that's true. I hadn't thought about the finger tool. Hold on, that's not right. Hang on, what does that look like anyway? God, this is just like when this is just like when you try to use like the fill tool when you don't know how to like prepare the line art properly for it, and it just has like this white outline to it. God, that used to piss me off so bad as a kid. They only used to make fire effects. Oh, clever. How does that finger tool look like with the? Hang on. Hey. All right, so maybe not there, or maybe we rasterize this and then try it. Yeah, I think that might be a better idea. Hang on. Okay, then over here. Then just really thin this sucker out. Okay, now we rasterize this thing and try out the fingertip brush. Or actually, first let me try the liquefy brush to push it up a little bit. Strange. All right, let me try to graft it upward then, if that's not working. Perfect. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up here for today. I wanted to get into page 12, but some of these ended up taking way longer than I expected. All right. Is anybody else streaming right now? Oh, Corgi is still doing Fate Extra, so let's go say hi to Corgi. Let's see. All right. I'll be back tomorrow with more comic work, and I will see you all later. Bye.